Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network NFL Prediction Show, title to be determined. You know what? Wait, hold on. Before we get going with this week's show, I've always said title to be determined, but you know what? It's time we actually put a title to this. And, we need to put some different, a special kind of tune for the opening intro of this new show that we have here. So, not only do we have a title for it, but let's do a new title sequence. So, editor, which is basically me, go back to the beginning of this. Let's start this over from the very beginning. For you. This is the NFL Network. Not the NFL Network, the NFL Network that's officially owned by the NFL, but a different kind of the NFL Network with the THE at the beginning there. And this is basically where we're going to be doing the power rankings, the predictions for Week 6, and, why not just go with a name like the NFL Network? So let's just go ahead and do that. It sticks to what the rest of my channel and stuff has been about, the Reviewing Network Live. Now we have the NFL Network. So on this edition of the NFL Network, let's go ahead and first take a look at the Reviewing Network's NFL Power Rankings. How many times can I say NFL in this video? Take a drink. So let's go ahead and get started with the weekly NFL Power Rankings for week number 5. And, a lot of different changes all over this list here, and we have a new worst team in the NFL, and believe it or not, the New York Giants have found a way to move up the list here. They did not look good against the Dallas Cowboys a couple weeks ago, but they went into Seattle and beat the Seahawks. The Giants. A Giants team that doesn't have either Malik Nabers or Devin Singletary, and put all their focus on the run game that features Eric Gray and Tyrone Tracy. And they won. Go figure. But you can see at the bottom of the barrel now is the Cleveland Browns, who continue to prop up Deshaun Watson as he's the savior of the franchise, even though it's clear that Cleveland does not want him to be a part of this team anymore, but neither does apparently Deshaun Watson, if you saw what happened during the Commanders game. As you can see also on the bottom of the list, the Carolina Panthers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints. The Miami Dolphins won a game this week. They won against the Patriots. That's we'll get to all those those bottom feeders of the power rankings in a little bit in the predictions. But let's get to the top 5. And as you can see, there's definitely a lot of change from last week in general. A couple of teams are still in here, not a whole lot of them, but still. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's start with number 5 here, and the Minnesota Vikings. Still hanging in there at 5-0, beating the New York Jets. It wasn't the best game by the Minnesota Vikings in general. But at the same time, they're in the bye week right now, going 5-0, and I guess I have to be on the bandwagon right now. I don't know if this means that they're gonna keep this up throughout the rest of the season, or they're gonna just be this good in the regular season, and then when it comes to the playoffs, they're one and done. A lot of teams seem to do that now, apparently, But yeah, the Minnesota Vikings are doing a decent enough job sticking in there and staying undefeated. Don't know how much longer that's going to last in general, especially considering that the next game they'll have when they get back from the bye week is against the Detroit Lions. So we'll wait and see how that transpires. But coming in at number 4, the Kansas City Chiefs, who probably had their overall best game of the season so far. But then again, it's really not saying much. But hey, they got a pretty dominant win over the New Orleans Saints, who I really don't know what the hell happened to them after week 2. Good Lord. But Kansas City, Travis Kelce did get more involved, but Juju Smith-Schuster, man, seeing him on Monday Night Football just makes me just want to shake my head and go, why did the Steelers try to get him back? Why? Look at what he's doing with Kansas City. Of course the Kansas City Chiefs have a lot of injuries on the offensive front, but they have a lot of talent there. They have a top rookie wide receiver in Xavier Worthy, who had a big play in the game on Monday, I should say. And Juju Smith-Schuster balled out. Travis Kelce they put a lot of trick plays in there that actually did work. So I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs, this is what I was saying before. September, they usually don't show the signs of a team that we've seen that's won 2 Super Bowls in the beginning. It's not until we get to this month and going forward when they really get to show what they are really. And they're doing a pretty good job right now staying afloat at 5-0. And, hey, more power to them. They make it to number 4 on the list. Number 3, they've been in here for a couple weeks now, the Washington Commanders. Another dominant performance this week. Granted, over the Cleveland Browns, but it just goes to show you that Jaden Daniels really is the best quarterback in this draft class that we have this year. I mean, this is a kid who is really taking the NFL by storm right now, and assuming that's going to continue into much of the regular season, although they've got a very tough task ahead of them this week. But we'll get to that when we get to the actual predictions. But number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they lost last Thursday night, that may have been the greatest Thursday night football game ever, by the way. I mean, in a time when most Thursday night football games are either blowouts or just very low-scoring defensive powerhouse games where nothing really happens and it's really boring, and you wonder why the hell is Amazon spending all billions of dollars on this. That game against the Atlanta Falcons was just so incredible, and Tampa Bay, for the most part, kept it together. Their offense really is getting very good. Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns and Carolina Panthers are probably kicking themselves right now by letting this guy go. And look at what he's done with Tampa Bay over the last year and a half. And that's probably going to continue this week because of who they're playing against. But they're number 2 on the list, but only because the team that they lost to, the number 1 team, first time at the number 1 spot. Congratulations, Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons put it together on Thursday night. A 500-plus yard day for Kirk Cousins. The offense came together. Kadero Hodge with the game-winning touchdown at the end. I mean, what a great game that really shows what the Atlanta Falcons could be. Now, I say could be. Of course, this team is notoriously known for collapsing at the worst possible time, so let's take this with a grain of salt. Enjoy the number 1 spot this weekend because you guys deserve it. You had the most impressive victory of the entire weekend. And I can't really say much more about them. The Falcons right now, they're finally becoming that team that everyone thought they were going to be. Let's hope it continues going into the season because that's going to make this NFC South that was considerably one of the worst divisions of the league for the last couple of seasons. It's becoming very competitive for nearly every team. Okay, maybe not every team because New Orleans fell off a cliff and Carolina is Carolina. But so those are the power rankings for this week. You can see all 32 teams right there. And so let's go ahead and get right to the predictions for this week. My week 6 NFL predictions. And in week 6, I did about as average as I did last week. In fact, despite the fact that I got lower of a percentage than I did last week, I got 10 out of 14 correct. The ones I didn't get right, I didn't get the Raiders beating the Broncos. I didn't get the Giants beating the Seahawks, obviously. I didn't get the Dolphins beating the Patriots. So what was the last one I had? I think I didn't get. What was the fourth one I got wrong? 49ers over the Cardinals. I had the 49ers beating the Cardinals, but Cardinals surprised everybody by winning that game. I don't think anybody I know actually predicted the Cardinals to win that game, but hey, good job Kyler Murray, good job James Conner. So overall, I didn't do so bad last week, but my percentage was lower from last week, 75%, last week to 71.4%. So for the season so far, I've got 47 out of 78. So that's about barely on the cusp of a D. So, I'm like Bart Simpson. I got a D. I just barely pass. So go with that if you will. But let's see if we can change the tide here. Let's go ahead and go on ahead to my Week 6 predictions. And let's start, of course, with the Thursday Night Football game. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. A critical NFC West matchup, which always is very competitive, always is very much. It can usually decide who's going to probably be at the head of the NFC West title talks at the end of the season. And the 49ers have had the Seahawks number over the last couple of years. The Seahawks, of course, have a new head coach in Mike McDaniel. They started off 3-0, looking pretty strong, but last 2 games, they played a good one against the Lions Monday night, but then on Sunday they played the Giants and then got completely thrashed by them, which is shocking. The 49ers have a ton of injuries on their front, but they have been able to stay dominant for some games in particular. But then they lose games where they had a chance to take the lead, to hold on to the lead. They had like a 10-point lead, and then going into the fourth quarter, they just let it go. Like the Los Angeles Rams is a perfect example, and then this week with the Arizona Cardinals. So where does this really go? I mean, the 49ers, they still have a ton of talent there, but every time it seems like they're getting close to a win, something happens where in the fourth quarter they just completely fall off the map and just let it go to two divisional opponents. By the way, the Rams and the Cardinals were the big ones for the big comeback that they had. Everyone thought but then the 49ers lose to the Vikings, and we didn't find out until later on that the Vikings have had the 49ers number there since 1991. But the 49ers in general, they're a team that still very much has enough talent there to possibly win this game, but every time they play, they keep getting all these different injuries, and it really, like, how much longer can this team really take in general here? The Seahawks are kind of a mixed bag team. The 3 wins they had at the beginning of the season, when you really think about it, the Denver Broncos, when they had Bo Nix playing his first NFL game, the New England Patriots, who we've seen are not as great as we probably thought they were, and the Miami Dolphins, who still don't have Tua Tagovailoa and still are pretty much trash, even though they somehow got a win over the Patriots this past week, which that's still baffling to me. By the way, they're on a bye week this week, but so it's really hard to get a grasp on who the Seahawks really are this year. Like, are they really as good as they're making those first 3 weeks made it out to be, or do they just get lucky because they played 3 lesser teams in general? I think we're going to find out a lot about which one of these 2 teams in particular will have a leading edge over the NFC West, because the 49ers, I think, still have the upper hand in this, even though their injuries are starting to pile up for them. But the Seattle Seahawks, if they can find a way to win this game, it could really change the dynamics of the league of the division in general. But I'm going to go with the team that has more of the superstars on them. I'm going with the 49ers. They've had the Seahawks number for a number of years now. Let's see what Mike McDaniel can do to try to buck the trend here. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one. So give me the 49ers to go back to 500 and the Seahawks to drop to 3-3. Hello, Governor. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second London game of the year between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears. I'm sorry for that accent. I don't know what the hell that was. I was trying to go for a Cockney accent here, but I'm sounding like an Australian. I'm sounding like Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. That's a knife. That's not what I was going for here. But bottom line here is that we have the second London game of the season, and that's between the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, hey, congratulations, you continued to embarrass the Colts in Jacksonville and got your first win out of it, so good for you. And the Chicago Bears, who slowly but surely are beginning to turn the tide around. The Chicago Bears, they started the year off, their defense was looking pretty good. They didn't do very well against Houston in general, but ever since the Colts game, they've slowly but surely started coming back into their own. Caleb Williams is slowly growing into a pretty good quarterback in general here, and he's taking the natural progression of, a rookie quarterback in the first round selection, moving into territory, moving into a new area of his football career where he's in the NFL now, and he's learning the books. He's learning how to be the quarterback that everyone wants him to be. And this past week against the Carolina Panthers, they did a pretty good job of working that team that's clearly bad. And it was fun to see the Bears put a couple touchdowns on the Panthers' former wide receiver DJ Moore, which they traded away to get Bryce Young in the first place. But we'll save that for the Panthers discussion a little bit later on here. But yeah, the Chicago Bears did pretty well despite going up against the Carolina Panthers. The Jacksonville Jaguars last week did a very good job of staying with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, the Colts had opportunities to win that game. I mean, Joe Flacco, he really has become that guy that, teams like the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns are probably kicking themselves now for not keeping him aboard, because look at what he's done for that Colts team while Anthony Richardson's been on the bench. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually stays the starting quarterback until they really do feel like that he can go again, that Anthony Richardson can go later on down the road. I think Joe Flacco's going to stay the leading quarterback for the Colts for the time being. I don't think Anthony Richardson's getting back in there anytime soon, at least in my opinion. But I'll save that for the Colts discussion a little bit later on here. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, Last week was the first game where we really did get to see the Jacksonville Jaguars that we saw last year. That's the Trevor Lawrence that's why they paid him $55 million for what he could do in that game. And you know what? They got a good running back core with Trevor Etienne, and last week Tank Bigsby had probably his best overall game in general, and they found a way to win it. It had to come down to a field goal at the end, but the Jaguars are getting good at the right time, and they're going to London for the next 2 weeks. When they go to London, they really do find a way to win those games in general. So this could be a game where the Jaguars get their mojo back here. I could easily see this team being 3-4 by the time they get back to the U.S. in Jacksonville right now. But then again, they probably don't want to be in Jacksonville with the hurricane going on. Literally, as I'm recording this, Hurricane Milton's over the Florida area. So maybe it's probably a good reason. Maybe it's probably good that they're in London right now. But either way, this could be a very good game between two teams that have very questionable futures going ahead of them. Can the Jacksonville Jaguars use that magic that they had against the Colts last week and bring it to this battle between an upstart team and the Chicago Bears? I think they can. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one. Give me the Jaguars to go 2-4 and the Bears to drop to 3-3. So after that, we have what some people are saying is a contender for game of the year. I'm not going to go that far, but it is a good matchup anyway. This is the Beltway Bowl, and that means, of course, the two Washington, D.C. football teams will meet, and that's the Washington Commanders and the Baltimore Ravens. Both of them, of course, within the state of Maryland. And, what more can be said about the Commanders that we haven't already said already? Jaden Daniels off to a strong start in his career. And the Baltimore Ravens, after starting 0-2, have found ways to win games, even though they've literally had opportunities almost blown for them. Like last week against Cincinnati. They literally could have lost that game if Cincinnati actually had a guy that was able to hold the ball and not screw up Evan McPherson's kick. And then immediately after that, Derrick Henry runs down and gets Justin Tucker into winnable range, and of course they win that game. The Ravens are finding their way again, and that's the scary thing about this Ravens team, because this is always that point in their time where they start off really slow, but then all of a sudden they find that spark and they just go on this impressive win streak that does not end until they reach the playoffs in general. So the Ravens right now are very, very scary right now, and this is a huge test for Jaden Daniels in general. If he and the Commanders can somehow go into Baltimore and find a way to beat Lamar Jackson and the Ravens where they're at right now, that's really going to open up the conversation for Jaden Daniels probably being the offensive rookie of the year and maybe leading the Commanders to a place they haven't been to in a long, long time. But then again, I've seen these type of battles that they hype up as the game of the year go not the way I think anybody really expects them to. Like I remember last year, there was a couple of games where everyone thought, it's going to be a close matchup between the Lions and the Ravens and the Dolphins and the Ravens, and then the Ravens just easily beat the living shit out of them pretty much. And then like a couple of years ago, we had the Seattle Seahawks and the Ravens. Everyone was saying that, let's hype that up. That's going to be the next big matchup. And then the Ravens completely dismantled that team. There's that Seahawks team. Like they do this this happens every year. Like everybody thinks that when you got a matchup between two red hot teams, it's always going to be a close battle, and then the Ravens literally up the score and then just completely give no opportunity for the other team to get going. I mean, we had that with the Buffalo Bills earlier this year. So yeah, like I said, if the Washington Commanders can find a game plan to stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens from getting going, and Jaden Daniels continues to do what he does, like that's going to be big for a number of different reasons. But I'm not going to buy into the hype right now. I think the Commanders will try to make it close in general, but in a game like this, I think the Baltimore Ravens have the upper hand here because it is being played in Baltimore. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Ravens. I hate saying this because of the fact that they're in the AFC North and they just surpassed my Steelers for the lead in the division, but I just feel like it's going to be that type of a game where the Ravens are just going to take over and then they're never going to let go. So give me the Ravens to win this one to go to 4-2. Commanders drop to 4-2. So next up, we've got the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. Cardinals had a big win last week in San Francisco, where San Francisco pretty much fumbled the game away, and the Cardinals took advantage by letting the run game and Kyler Murray finding Marvin Harrison Jr. for big plays that literally got them down into field goal range at the end of the game. And I mean, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a very sketchy team. Like, they're a team that you look at after what they did when Kyler Murray came back last year. You know, they went to Pittsburgh, they beat the Steelers. They went to Philadelphia, they beat the Eagles. Two teams that made the playoffs. You kind of thought to yourself, okay, if the Cardinals can keep this going and move this into an area where they were at, and move this into the positive energy moving into the new season, they could be a really good football team, and they just haven't shown it yet. There's been a couple of games this year where they've really shown that what they could do, but it's not enough to really carry this team over to anything where I would say that this is going to be one of those teams that might sneak into the playoffs. They just feel like a team that it feels like they're one person away from maybe really turning this team around in general here. And they're going into Green Bay, who has been playing pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Jordan Love has come back after that severe injury in the Philadelphia game, and the Packers are finding ways to win games. They almost blew one against the Rams last week, but you know, they're going into Lambeau Field. Cardinals have actually done pretty well against the Packers at Lambeau Field as of late. I mean, the last time the Cardinals, the last time they were in Lambeau Field in 2018 was when, you know, that was the game that Mike McCarthy got fired from his job as the Packers head coach after they lost that game. I think it was that game. It was either that game or the Washington Redskins game. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was the Cardinals game in general here. And of course, the Packers beat them in Arizona when they were undefeated, and then that was the Thursday Night Football game where you know, AJ Green misses the ball and it's picked off by the former Cardinal. Why can't I remember his name? Rasul Douglas, who's now on the Buffalo Bills. I'm going with the better team in this one. I think the Packers overall have the better roster. They've played much better in the last couple of weeks. You know, Jordan Love is still recovering from that injury, but he's getting healthier and healthier as the weeks go on. I think the Packers go in this one and win it. So give me the Packers to go to 4-2, the Cardinals dropping to 2-4. So now we have a battle between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. And obviously, one team is definitely a whole lot better equipped for this game than the other. The Texans, they had a really, really good game last week that, you know, one that almost got away from them because of what happened in the fourth quarter. But luckily, Josh Allen tried to play hero too much, and C.J. Stroud was able to get the ball in the field goal range, and they kicked a 59-yard field goal to win the game. And the Texans now are sitting at 4-1. They're going into Foxborough, where they're facing the New England Patriots, who will not have Jacoby Brissett under center in this one. It will be Drake May's first time playing in the NFL in that game, and I think everyone can agree you're really going to pick this game to go up to put Drake May in. Like, why didn't you put him in the Miami Dolphin game? Like, the Dolphins were not going to do anything in that game, and yet they still won that game. And like, you probably would have been better off just putting Drake May in there to let him play a division rival that's very much beaten up right now. But of course they didn't, and now that's why they're sitting at 1-4, and will probably be sitting at 1-5 in this particular matchup here. I do think the Texans are the better team overall. I think they go into Foxborough and they will beat the New England Patriots. I think Drake May gives the Patriots more of an opportunity to open up the playbook a little bit more. But then again, I think it's going to be really hard for Drake May to really get going with the offensive line depleted as it is right now. And I think the Texans will take full advantage of that. And I think they will go into this one and beat the New England Patriots in this one to get to 5-1 and be up there with the Kansas City Chiefs for one of the best teams in the conference right now. So give me the Texans to go to 5-1 and the Patriots to drop to 1-5. So next up we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the New Orleans Saints. And by the way, Derek Carr is going to miss multiple games, so you know what that means. Spencer Rattler is going to be your starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints in this one. And boy, what a game to start in. You're going up against the division rival in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had a close but brutal loss to the Falcons on Thursday night, looking to get back in the swing of things. And being the very depleted New Orleans Saints team that has no idea what the hell they're trying to be could help out for the Bucs in a big way. I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are more equipped to win this game. You know, I don't know how good Spencer Rattler would be in this situation in general here, but the Saints really have lost that muster that they had the first 2 weeks of the season. I don't know what the hell happened to this football team, but man, the last 3 weeks in general have been just like, what happened? Like, really, like, other teams you could say, oh, there was injuries, or, you know, there's something going on, there's something wrong with the coaching staff in general here. Like, I don't know if it's just Dennis Allen's playbook or the fact that, he's calling more of the plays than Clint Kubiak is, or what. I just don't know what the hell's going on there, but it's probably not going to get any better with Spencer Rattler under center, unfortunately, unless he just hands off to Alvin Kamara all the time, because I feel like that's the only way the Saints are ever going to get anywhere is if you keep Baker Mayfield off the field in general here. But Tampa Bay, I think, gets this back after losing to the Falcons. Give me the Buccaneers to go to 4-2, Saints dropping to 2-4. So next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Cleveland Browns. Speaking of teams that are completely outmatched, the Cleveland Browns are terrible. They are flat out terrible. Like, no matter how hard you want to try to say it, the offense is terrible. The defense has not been holding its end of the bargain so far. But then again, the Philadelphia Eagles aren't that strong either. But they won their last game before the bye week, so maybe this is the start. Maybe this is the push that this team needed to. Maybe that game was the push that they needed to get back on track here. And they're playing at home against the Cleveland Browns team that is very much dismantled, depleted. And, this is a perfect game for them to get back on track here. Get Saquon Barkley more involved. Get Jalen Hurts more down the field. They're going to have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown supposedly back for this game here. And that's going to help the offense a lot in this particular matchup here. I really do think the Philadelphia Eagles can wipe the floor with the Cleveland Browns in this one. I don't think there's really much more to say about this one in general here. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles to go to 3-2, the Browns dropping to 1-5. So next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts over the Tennessee Titans, which the Tennessee Titans, they're on their bye week after getting that first win against Miami, because they finally got rid of they finally said that, we're done with this. Will Levis, Mason Rudolph going forward, and at least I hope that's what they're thinking, because if they really do put Will Levis back in the game here for this matchup, yeah, this team ain't winning this game in general here. But again, I don't think they're going to win anyway because of how good the Colts have been under Joe Flacco since he took over for Anthony Richardson. Yeah, he didn't have Jonathan Taylor in the last couple of weeks, but he's still finding guys and throwing the ball downfield where, they're making plays, and the Colts are still hanging in there and still putting up a hell of a matchup between, still putting up big numbers than Anthony Richardson probably could have been doing right now. I just think it's hard not to go with the hot hand in this one here. Joe Flacco's helping the Colts out right now, giving this team everything that they need to get close to winning games in general. Even though they didn't win last week, they had an opportunity to win it. So I think this is the perfect game for them to go in and win it. Give me the Colts to go with 3-3 and the Titans to drop to 1-4. And thus in the 4:05 window, we have, first off here, the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos. The Chargers had a bye week last week after getting embarrassed once again by the Kansas City Chiefs. The Denver Broncos have reeled off 3 wins in a row after starting 0-2. Bo Nix has actually turned out to be a pretty damn good quarterback for the team. But not only that, not only is the offense getting going, the defense is really coming together. Patrick Surtain picked off Gardner Minshew in the Raider game last week and ran it back for 102 yards for the touchdown. 100 yards, actually. No, that was 102 was Rayshon Jenkins in the Seahawks game. But this is a matchup that really can define what Jim Harbaugh brings to the Chargers table. I think there's more pressure on Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers than there is on Bo Nix and the Broncos. We see what Bo Nix and the Broncos can do. The offense is coming together. The defense is really getting strong at the right time. The Chargers, I think they need to win this game to prove that they still have an opportunity to really show everybody what they could really be. This is led by a coach who's just won a national championship, and getting whipped in the butt by the Kansas City Chiefs once again is not a good sign going forward here. And I think the Los Angeles Chargers go into this game and get things back on track in general here. I think they will pull off a close win over the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to take the Chargers to go to 3-2, Broncos dropping to 3-3. So now we come to this game, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Steelers, the more I think about it, maybe there was a good reason why the live rewatch I did of the Cowboys and Steelers didn't go up, and I couldn't go up because of all the space I had on my phone when I was putting the stuff together. I couldn't upload it because there was little space on my phone to get rid of stuff, so I just basically said screw it, because I was not in a good spot when the Steelers lost on Sunday. It's bad enough when there's a weather delay for nearly 2 hours, and then and then you have a game where the Steelers literally had the lead is towards the end of the game, and then the defense that has been so good for so many years, is finally starting to fall apart for the Steelers, and it fell apart at the worst possible time on that last play of the game, and it's just like even like there's a reason why the Steelers and I have such a love-hate relationship. More centering on the hate part here. I feel like I'm a divorce. I feel like the Steelers and I are like a divorced couple. I want to get away from them, but then once in a while they'll do something where it's just like I slowly but surely start to want to come back to them. And then they do something like this against the Colts and the Cowboys, who have just been absolutely depleted with injuries, and yet they still found ways to lose to the Steelers found ways to lose to both of those teams. Like, I have no idea what the Steelers are right now, and they're going up against a Raiders team that has a lot of problems on their side too. I mean, a lot of injuries, a lot of players on that team that Max Crosby hasn't been playing for the last couple of weeks until last week. Devontae Adams, there's a lot of trade talks. I mean, they're saying the Steelers could possibly be getting him maybe after this game, possibly. But then there's still the possibility of him coming to the Jets or Saints. Good Lord, sorry about that. The Jets or the Saints, which I don't know why the hell he'd want to go there, to one of those two teams that have so much shit going on there, but at the same time though, like, there's nothing that I've seen from the Steeler team since that Colts game that makes me think that this team's going to turn it around. I really don't think they are, because everyone has finally figured out how to stop them, and it's just like it doesn't matter how depleted these teams can be, they'll still find ways to win. So why the hell do I think that's going to change with the Raiders? I'm still of the belief that the Steelers are so terrible right now, there's a good possibility that they will be 3-5 at the end of the month. Like, I don't know how, but they'll probably find a way to lose to the Jets. And, Daniel Jones, the big story with the Giants is that he hasn't won a primetime game. That will probably change in the month, as at the end of the month, because this is just that type of game that the Steelers play. They always play down to the competition. They don't finish the job, and this is what happens. They get embarrassed on national television, and they're going into Las Vegas, and most of the time they have not been that good. They have not been that good against the Raiders. There's been those few times where they have won games, but then when they lose games down there, it's the most depressing thing ever. And the bottom line of what I'm trying to say here is that I think the Raiders probably win this game. Yeah, I know Christian Wilkins is out. I know Aiden O'Connell is going to be the starting quarterback in this game, but this just feels like the ultimate form of a trap game. Like, this feels like a game that the Steelers should easily win, but they're gonna find a way to lose it, because everyone's figuring out how to beat the defense. Everyone's figuring out that the offense is really bad right now. Yeah, Justin Fields doesn't turn the ball over that much, but that doesn't mean this offense is any good if he can't find anybody down the field. I mean, I understand why George Pickens is so upset right now that he's getting frustrated all the time, because the team that's all on the Steelers. That's all in the Steelers front office, because right now their whole thing about trading away Deontay Johnson and making George Pickens the number one wide receiver when there's literally nobody else to be the wide receiver too. Like, everything that I was worried about when that happened is showing so far this season. It's even worse than that, because that second round pick, Roman Wilson. Third round pick, I should say, Roman Wilson. He's had some positive plays. Positive plays by being benched every single week this season, and hopefully that won't be the case. But knowing this team, he probably will. Like, why did you even bother to draft him if you're not even going to play him? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. Like, what is wrong with this person that he can't play right now? Now, it makes no sense whatsoever. And there's also the possibility maybe Russell Wilson comes in, which at this point I want to see what Russell Wilson can do with this offense. I want to see if he can turn the tide for this football team in general here. But I don't know. Like, this is just a game where it could easily go where I think it's going to go. It's probably going to go the same way it went with the Colts and with the Cowboys. Like, they're going to play down the competition, and it's going to bite them in the ass too little too late. And I think the Raiders pull off a close win in this one here, and I just feel like I've seen this movie before, and I hate this. I hate it when the Steelers do this. So I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going for the Raiders to get to 500, and the Steelers dropping to 3-3. It's just feeling like that's what's going to happen at this point. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next matchup we have here, and that is the Atlanta Falcons over the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta coming off that big win over Tampa Bay on Thursday night. Carolina, still one of the worst teams in football, even with Andy Dalton at the center. Yeah, Andy Dalton is getting more points out of him, but it doesn't help when you tell them, Andy, hey, we're going to put Bryce Young in here for the end of this game against the Chicago Bears. Why? I mean, wasn't that the reason why you got rid of Bryce Young in the first place, so that Andy Dalton can help jumpstart the offense? And now you're putting it back in because the offense with Andy Dalton isn't working either? Gee, maybe that's the fault of the team itself. Maybe it's the fault of the coaching staff itself and how bad your team is put together. And needless to say, I don't think that's going to change against the Atlanta Falcons, who are really starting to come into their own. They've got the moxie on their side. They've got the mojo moving after that Tampa Bay game. I think that's going to continue into this game here. They've got a very easy matchup here. So yeah, give me the Falcons to go to 4-2, and then the Panthers to go to 1-5. And thus we come to another game that this one really is probably the game of the week here. Like, I know NBC was trying to get the Ravens and Commanders, but CBS wouldn't budge. I'm pretty sure they would have liked to have had the Lions and the Cowboys, but Fox probably wouldn't budge on it. But yeah, the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys, a rematch of last year's matchup where the Cowboys barely won that game because of a bad penalty against the Lions. But Lions got the last laugh. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, and now they're heading back to Dallas and hoping to get some revenge for what happened last time around. And I think they can do it this time around. I think they have the overall better team. The Cowboys, even though they got that close win against Pittsburgh, they're still not a very good football team. They're still a team that very much struggles is compared to where they were last year. I just don't think they're a good football team. I think the Lions are definitely the stronger team in general here. I think they will go into Dallas. They'll do what they did against Seattle a couple weeks ago. I think they'll go in that game, get their revenge, and move to 4-1. So give me the Lions to go to 4-1, Dallas dropping to 3-3. And thus we have the Sunday Night Football matchup of the week, which is the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants. Why? As I said before, because they probably wanted the Ravens and Commanders flexed into here, and CBS said fuck no, and the Lions and Cowboys, but Fox said fuck no, so they said, screw it, we're going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants. Cincinnati has played better in recent weeks. The defense, though, has been terrible. The offense, though, has been getting better and better. Last week, Joe Burrow flew for 5 touchdowns, and the Giants got that win against Seattle, even without Malik Neighbors there. But really, this should not be no contest whatsoever. Yeah, the Giants just don't feel like a football team that really is going to be that sleeper team like they were a couple years ago. They still feel like a team that's just waiting to start tanking for Cam Ward. Like, I feel like they're going to do everything in their power to get Cam Ward, even if they have to trade out for the number 1 pick in that one. Like, this does not feel like a team that's confident that Daniel Jones is the future of this franchise going forward. Cincinnati has a lot to prove in this game. They've got to win this game to get back on track here, especially after that overtime loss to Baltimore. I think Cincinnati goes in and cleans up the New York Giants big time here. Give me the Bengals to go to 2-4. The Giants dropping to 2-4. And then we'll head back to MetLife Stadium the following night for the Monday Night Football matchup, the rematch of last year's exciting Week 1 opener from last year, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. The Buffalo Bills could have probably won that game if Josh Allen decided not to play hero. One of the stupidest things the stupidest things I saw last week was Josh Allen throwing the football, not once, not twice, but 3 times from his own end zone with 20 seconds left in the game. Why? Every time you think the Buffalo Bills are finally gonna be that team that everyone thinks they're going to be, like that team that was that close in the AFC Championship game, but they're not, and it's just disappointing because a loss like that against Houston, like that really is something that could damage your season in general if you don't find a way to come back on track here. And what better way to do it than against the New York Jets team that has literally completely destroyed itself in the 48 hours since the last game of week 5 ended. I mean, what the hell is going on with the New York Jets? Robert Saleh gets fired because clearly he's the reason why the team has been struggling. Not the offensive coordinator that Aaron Rodgers hired. It's Aaron Rodgers begged and pleaded to bring back in here. Let's just be honest about this whole thing. And I'm going to delve more into this on Sunday during the Reviewing Network Live, but Aaron Rodgers is the reason why the Jets are who they are right now. This whole thing just stinks of Aaron Rodgers completely taking over this team. He's like the guy that's running the entire organization right now. I've seen a lot of memes that say like Aaron Rodgers assigns himself as the new Jets head coach, which, yeah, that's exactly what he did. Like, this whole thing makes no sense why Robert Saleh got fired like he did, especially when you considered that his plan was supposed to go and fire Nathaniel Hackett because, yeah, Nathaniel Hackett has proven that he's not a good offensive coordinator. But on top of that, as soon as he does that, that's when the Jets let him go. And not only lets him go, get escorted out by security like he's a terrorist. Like, what is this organization? Like, this is the reason why the Jets have not been relevant since Joe Namath promised that Super Bowl win in 1970. And even then, like, this is one of those stupid decisions that make no sense whatsoever. Like, this reminded me so much of when the old owner, Leon Hess, in 1996, he says, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of I want to win. And Rich Kotite is the reason why we'll win games. And yeah, what happened in 1996? The Jets went 1-15, and they fired him after that. So yeah, great job there. This has just been the problem with the Jets organization from the very beginning. They fail at picking quarterbacks. They're more well known for their embarrassing plays, like the infamous butt fumble. They pick these. They can't finish the job when they need to. What makes them think that this is all that having Aaron Rodgers completely in control of this football team is going to change the whole dynamic of this whole situation? I don't care what anybody says. Aaron Rodgers is the reason why the Jets are going to fail this year, and this is going to literally turn into another Russell Wilson situation where I'm pretty sure they're going to wait till the end of the season and then they're going to force Aaron Rodgers out. Like, I don't see any reason why this football team is trying to believe that anything that Aaron Rodgers and them are doing right now is going to help save the team in general here. And yeah, last year, of course, the Jets found a way to win that game against the Bills. But you know what? The Bills are in such desperation mode right now. They need to win these type of games in order to keep their season afloat, especially after that Texans loss. So yeah, no matter what happens with the New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, I think, will win this one in general. So give me the Buffalo Bills to go to 4-2, and the Jets to drop to 2-4. Oh, I'm sorry, not the Jets. Let's call them what they really are. Aaron Rodgers presents the New York Jets, starring Aaron Rodgers, because that's exactly what they're doing right now. So in recap to my predictions for the week, I have the 49ers over the Seattle Seahawks, the Jaguars over the Bears, the Ravens over the Commanders, the Packers over the Cardinals, the Texans over the Patriots, the Buccaneers over the Saints, the Eagles over the Browns, the Colts over the Titans, the Chargers over the Broncos, the Raiders over the Steelers, the Falcons over the Panthers, the Lions over the Cowboys, the Bengals over the Giants, and the Buffalo Bills over the New York Jets. So with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching the NFL Network for this week. Check out some of the other videos I've done, as well as all the other videos on this channel. If you like this one, hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next Wednesday night. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.